What is ad fraud?
Ad fraud is when your ad is being viewed by a non-person. And unfortunately, the industry is crazy high. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. It's like tens of millions of dollars is being wasted on ad fraud. And as businesses kick off their 2022 marketing plans, there's one thing they shouldn't overlook: a strategy for combating ad fraud to protect the return on ad spend. I feel like that would be the quickest win for any company out there that's spending $10,000 a month, $1 million a month. Like if you found a way to solve for this problem rather than increasing your ad spend, wouldn't that be the most logical solution? And I think I have a solution, but...
Good morning, marketers. I guess that's going to be our working title for the show right now. This is a new show we're putting together with Andrew and I, and what we're going to be doing is covering the trending topics and news that's happening for creators and digital marketers, and we're going to be reacting and kind of explaining kind of what's going on in the industry for you. My name is Matt Astifan. I'm the founder of Web Friendly, and I've in the past taught courses, hosted events for digital marketers, and done a lot of stuff in that field. Andrew, I met in 2016, and I think it was 2016 or 2015, and we actually met through a sales call. I think I can't remember if I was the one that actually got you into the program, but Andrew joined.
I was watching a Dave DeBow training, and he brought on Dan Lok, and Dan Lok spent like a good 20-30 minutes bragging about this guy named Matt Astifan, and then I ended up in your social media director program.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think that was in 2016. So Andrew joined the program, and he was just a rock star throughout the whole program. He used to be a Coast Guard. Jumping out of helicopters?
Yeah, good memory. Coast Guard rescue diver with Sea Island, the Coast Guard base, the busiest Coast Guard base in Canada, in Vancouver.
He went from there to becoming a real digital marketer, so much so that he's now even a digital nomad and done some traveling and living all over the world. I don't even know where he is right now. Anyways, so I guess where we'll take this right now is getting right into the first story. Not even the first story, but I guess let's talk a bit about our tech setup that we got here. So right now we are producing this show using an app called Riverside, which we recently discovered. It's pretty cool. I think Riverside is going to take over as the premier kind of webcasting tool. Right now, everyone's all hot about Zoom. I never liked Zoom. I don't know if you ever really got into Zoom. I used to use GoToWebinar because GoToWebinar used to have a bit better broadcasting functionality over Zoom. But somehow, after all the shit hit the fan in the world, everyone went to Zoom. But I really like this app. And one thing we were talking about that we did a bit of research on is whether or not you should be wearing headphones when producing your podcast. So if you're watching the video right now, you can see that Andrew is wearing headphones and I am not. Andrew, how does it feel to be wearing headphones?
I'm liking it. I'm super digging this. I mean, I know you and I, before we hit the record button here, we were chatting in the green room about the conversation Mr. Beast had with Joe on the Joe Rogan podcast here recently, the Joe Rogan Experience. And they had a whole conversation about this at the beginning. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out because it's hilarious. And the Mr. Beast's big comment was the fact that, he's all tripping out. I'm tripping out because I can hear myself. I don't want to hear myself. But Joe and he certainly highlighted the advantages of using a headset. Yeah, there's the episode. Matt's just bringing it up for everybody there. There's certain advantages of using headsets, and it's probably more paramount or important when you have more than two speakers. At least that's what Joe Rogan was saying, that it pretty much allows you from not speaking over one another. It's almost impossible having a proper conversation without headsets. But clearly, Matt and I were able to work it in such a way that he's been able to leave his headset off the show, and it looks like he's not going to be speaking over me. I don't know.
I almost wanted to speak over you just now. Yeah, you know what? I just don't have the proper headphones for it right now because I have Bluetooth headphones. I'm going to get some wired ones. What's funny is because of the way we're recording this, I'm using my phone as a camera on Riverside, and I can you can't turn the volume all the way down when you use the Riverside app on your phone. So I can slightly hear some sound coming out of the speaker, and it's really annoying me. So I think if I had those headphones right now, it probably would be helpful. So yeah, I do think it's interesting. I was, as I was doing research about creating a podcast or, doing video, I was looking at what kind of gear people had. I did notice a lot of people using headphones, some of them not. And I also, just over the last year or so, I've just noticed conversations about whether or not you need to wear headphones and how that works, right? So I think you don't have to have headphones if you're going to be doing a podcast, but I think that you're probably going to get a better quality product. And I think it makes a lot more sense when you have more than one person. So if you're just by yourself doing a podcast, probably not. But when you are going to be interviewing someone or you have other people on, you're probably going to get a better quality podcast. And that brings us to the next story, which is going to be about the microphone. So it was actually oh my God, we just talked over each other.
We're doing it.
Andrew, why don't you take this one away? Because I kind of told you about it, but then you're the one who convinced me to actually get it. So why don't you kind of share your experience with it?
Yeah, that's so funny. Actually, I want to just take a quick step back, more of a high level before we jump into talking about mics. Essentially, what Matt and I are highlighting for everybody here is the fact that there's production quality and then content quality. And the reason why we're highlighting that for all of you is because creating content moving forward is going to just become more and more important. Because yes, a lot of people are talking about AI and automation disrupting jobs and whatnot. But when it comes to content creation, people resonate with people at the end of the day. So you have to ask yourself, how do you rise above all the noise? How do you stand out in the crowd? Because content creation is a very crowded space, right? So if you are in the informational I almost don't want to say educational, but if you're in the informational thought leadership space, then I would, it's my honest personal opinion to downgrade the importance of production quality, because it's all about message over production. But if you're an entertainer, if you're an entertainment, then you almost need to flip the script. You need to put much more priority on production quality, and then back that up with the message. Now, having said that, clearly, if you got the best of both worlds, because there are so many people creating content, and for you to rise above the noise and really stand out in a crowded space, and you spend a little bit of investment and time and energy into setting up proper equipment so that you can show up in a marketplace in a way that your competitors are not showing up. I can't tell you how many times I've been on Zoom calls, and yeah, Matt, I'm with you on that point, man. I'm not a big fan of Zoom either for a bunch of reasons, but I can't tell you how many times I showed up on a Zoom call and they noticed that they could hear me a lot clearer. They noticed they could see me a whole lot better. And they just, when you're looking at that gallery view, because there's a bunch of people on the call, your eye naturally gets drawn to the person who has the most professional setup. This is the equivalent of showing up to a business presentation in a suit and tie, or basically showing up in a situation at your very best, right? So that you feel more confident, and so that you show the peers in your space that you're here to meet, you're here to, and you're a serious player, and that you mean business, right? You're not goofing around here. Now, yeah, we are using the Shure MV7 mic, and yeah, Matt, you were the first to flag this mic for me. I didn't realize that Shure made a mic that was USB friendly, so that definitely certainly waved a big flag in my face when you pointed that out. And yeah, you pointed out earlier, I'm a digital nomad. So I'm in San Jose, Costa Rica right now. And I honestly got worried as soon as Matt flagged this for me, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my hands on something like this. Found myself going to a camera store. They pointed me to a music shop. So no matter where you're watching this from right now, you're probably going to be able to gain access to either Amazon or do what I did and go down to your local music shop. Not only was I able to get the MV7 Shure mic, but I was able to buy their very last boom right off the wall. I got the display version of their boom so that I could properly place the mic in front within a reasonable amount to really maximize the quality that this mic really offers. And again, this is one of those situations where if you got the budget, if you have the willingness to invest a little bit into your production level of quality, then yeah, you're going to be able to stand out in a place that is very, very crowded. But how are you going to show up in a way so that you can actually gain more attention in your niche, in your section of the marketplace, above and beyond what your competition is already doing? That's the idea. Matt, I haven't used any other high-end mics other than this one, so I'm going to pitch it back your way there and see what you think of it so far.
So I previously had the Blue Yeti, which was, it's kind of a popular brand name, I guess, for microphones. I think that audio quality is more important than video quality. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you can probably tell right now our video quality is probably so-so. I think that we could probably do better. But there's a saying that I love that's in the startup world that is, if you're not embarrassed about the first version of your product, you launch too late. So I really want to be able to look back at this in a year from now and say, what the sorry. Andrew and I agreed that we're not swearing on this podcast. So that's going to be your first bleeper. We're going to say, what the hell were we doing? So right now I'm using like a webcam as one of my cameras, and I'm using my iPhone as the other camera. When I was doing research on microphones, I was looking on Amazon and, wherever, and looking at different reviews. But what I kept noticing was all the big podcasts that I would watch, like video podcasts, I guess I was watching, they all had the same Shure mic. So I actually Googled like what Shure mic was this person using or that person using, and that's how I came across his mic. So it wasn't as prominent when actually kind of searching on Amazon and looking at reviews, but just noticing that all the biggest podcasters were all using this mic. So I mentioned this to Andrew, and then a couple days later he's like, I bought it. And so I said, okay, well, if he bought it, I have to buy it. So then I immediately ordered it too. And so we're both pretty happy with it. I think it is. I recorded some videos. I was doing some screen recording and stuff. The sound was great. I can't wait to hear what this is going to sound like when we actually produce these videos. But in terms of usability and so on, it's been great. So I hear a lot of people talking about different mics for podcasting and different investments. This one was around $300-$400 or so. And if you're going to be doing a podcast or doing a show like this, as soon as I invested into the microphone, I knew, and when I saw that Andrew invested into it, I knew the show was real. So it kind of felt like, it kind of made it like this show is going to happen, right? Because we just put in whatever $300 or $400 in these microphones, So that was my feeling. I don't know about you, Andrew, but.
No, I love it, man. I love it. I would have never known about this mic. It just goes to show you how important it is to actually network with other marketers, right? Or network with other creators, because I really didn't have the foresight to Google and do a search into this. So right on, man. I appreciate you flagging this for me. And this is another reason why we created the show Good Morning Marketers, because we certainly spend and live and breathe marketing, and like Matt's been in the game a lot longer than I have, but I've been around the block a few times now, and there's certainly marketing is just like anything else. At the end of the day, you can do it really, really right, do it really, really wrong, and Matt and I are going to have a lot of fun creating this show for more marketers and creators out there.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, this show right now is the first of possibly many shows that we want to produce at Web Friendly. So I've had this vision for a long time. I think I actually started thinking about this back in 2016, which is covering news that matters to digital marketers and creators and publishers. I don't see anyone doing it really well. I see there are some categories in, maybe in a Forbes or an Entrepreneur, that sort of thing, where they talk about it, but there's no one who's really kind of dominated that space. And the way that I get my news, my digital marketing news, is actually through like Facebook groups and word of mouth and stuff like that. And so what we want to do is be able to curate kind of what's happening in the industry and then share that with you. One thing that we're against is, kind of talking down about people or, talking or, talking about drama, stuff like that. We want to talk about news that's really going to matter to people who are in the space of digital marketing, even like online entrepreneurship. But we're really focused on people who are creating things online, right? Whether you're a creator, maybe you want to start a YouTube channel or a podcast, or you're creating products such as like, maybe a SaaS company or software company, something like that. So you're a creator and you're creating things online. And so that's what we want to cover. And Web Friendly prior, if anyone's kind of followed me over the years, Web Friendly was my main brand, and everything I did was a product of Web Friendly. So if you're familiar with Social Media Director, which Andrew was a part of that program, that was a product of Web Friendly. Internet Masterminds, which was the meetup group that we ran for a long time, for over 10 years, that was also a product of Web Friendly. So over the last year or so, I have been taking all the products and putting them into their own assets, into their own sites. So Internet Masterminds now lives on internetmasterminds.org. Social Media Directors now on socialmediadirector.com. And all my agency work is on mattastifan.com, right? So then Web Friendly was just kind of sitting there, and it's just like a blog. I had some people who were kind of taking some of the trainings that I did and transcribed that into blog posts and so on. And there was about 40 blog posts that were kind of sitting there. And I want to turn it into more of doing, news, media, that sort of thing. So the site was kind of sitting there. It was on WordPress, and I hate WordPress. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not that technical, and I like the flexibility of WordPress. I like that it is the standard CMS if you're going to be building a website, right? Like, it's very flexible. You could do a lot with it, but I don't like how technical it is. I don't like that. Sometimes I'd have like formatting issues that were related to some plugin that was for something else, and it was just navigating the WordPress world as a non-WordPress person was not fun for me. So, and I do use a lot of technology. So I'm just, I don't know how to say it. Like, I'm technical, but I'm not like WordPress technical. Let's just say that. So I've always,
I gotta jump in there. I gotta jump in there, Matt, just because you saying you're not technical makes me chuckle. Because you have no idea how funny I find that, because I, like, back in 2016 or whenever it was, when I was a Coast Guard rescue diver taking your program, I didn't even have a PayPal account at that time, right? And I when I just see where I've come in the relatively brief period of time, I remember you running your programs and getting very technical. But I agree with you, though. I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder. So when it comes to actually making those kinds of changes in a WordPress site, you went down that rabbit hole. I never did, but I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Like, I think some people might hear this and say, like, WordPress is not that technical or something, but like, I don't know coding and I don't know like plugins. What I hate is like when you have to update your plugins, you have to like back up your site first, because if you update your plugin, it could just break the whole website. Like, what is that? Like, why are we still living in that world? There's a lot of it. So, I was paying someone like a monthly fee of like, I think like $60 a month. She takes care of my hosting and updates my plugins and all this kind of stuff. But there were just so many things that I wanted to do with the site that I just couldn't do myself. I had to find a developer. I have to make sure I'm not going to break the site. So I was exploring what other options that I have to be able to, if I really want to build a media company, I want to have a lot of content. I want to have a lot of other people contributing content. I'm looking at what other options are there? And I came across ghost.org. And it was very interesting. You go to their website, you can take a look at it here. I'm on the screen right now. And I actually find that their website is really well designed. I don't know. When I first saw the site, I perceived them as a very big company. I did a little bit of research on the company and the founder and so on. Anytime I'm going to invest into any product that's going to be a big part of my business, I always actually look at who's the founder and how does that founder think about their business and the future of their business. That's how I always get into these. So what's interesting about this is that the founder, he's like a digital nomad. I think he's like a surf dude. He's got a YouTube channel. Yeah. And he set up this business as a nonprofit, which is also very interesting. And the last that I could see in terms of them sharing their numbers is that they're about a $2 million per year business, which I was surprised. To me, it looked like,
wow,
I would say a $20 to $100 million business, which just goes to show that, that's just branding or perception or whatever it was. To me, it just looked a lot bigger. So I didn't figure out that there was to me, I feel like $2 million for what they're doing is a smaller-ish business, even though it's still a lot. But I thought it was very interesting. So they have a lot of room to grow. And again, I did a lot of research on kind of like where they're at now in their business and like where, what the possibility is. And so Ghost is interesting because Ghost, you could build your own. They're very big on helping people build a publishing business, similar to something like a Substack. A lot of people are creating newsletters, like paid newsletters. A lot of journalists are like leaving big media companies to start their own newsletter that people will then pay like a monthly fee to get access to through a newsletter. So Ghost is similar. You can actually turn your blog posts into a newsletter very easily, but they're a lot more focused on publishing on the web, and it is very limiting. So it's limiting. There's not so many plugins and features and so on. I ended up buying a template from a company who then customized it for me. And they told me that even when you make a template, you can only customize up to like 5 things, So they're purposely making it limited so that way it doesn't get too complicated. And it is just very easy to use. I had an intern just start working with me recently. I gave him maybe like 5 or 10 minutes of instructions and then said, go. And he was importing all of our content from WordPress, just manually importing it into Ghost. And he figured it all out pretty easily. So I do like that, like all the basic things that you need are all there. It doesn't do everything. I wouldn't recommend this for all kinds of websites, but if you are a publisher or if you identify as like a blogger or, something like that, Ghost is pretty good. I think you should check out Ghost. I'm still waiting to find out as we try to scale and we create more content, where we're going to find limitations and whatnot. I'll also mention that it does require knowing some coding, I suppose, because some of the small things that we got to change, sometimes we're using, it connects with GitHub and you have to like get into the code a little bit. I don't know how to code, but the guy who was customizing the template and the theme for me, he was kind of explaining a few things to me, and it was kind of like I was kind of getting it, But I am excited to kind of learn a little bit more coding. I'm talking about like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, stuff like that, right? So I'm interested to know more about it, but I'm not. And so going from WordPress is too technical for me to I'm getting into GitHub and coding, But yeah, it's just easier to manage. And because I kind of get the idea of, the coding and the GitHub thing, and now I know if I need someone to do something, like it's pretty straightforward. Anybody who knows coding would be able to then adjust it for me. But once it's all kind of set up, I don't need to keep going in there and doing the coding and so on, right? But it's just kind of set it, and then you're pretty much good to go, and it's going to be very easy to get started.
Well, and no marketer or creator should ever let that technical aspect slow them down, right? I think you flagged another website for me here recently. There's a huge push. There's a huge push for no code options because
right.
people are naturally creative creatures. Human beings are creative creatures, but there's really a small percentage of people that are really technically focused, technically minded in that way. Like you and I both, man. Like there's going to be more and more no code options created by the coders, by the technical people, and then just watch content creation get blown up to a brand new level that we haven't even seen yet, right? That's how I feel about it. Anyways.
Yeah, this idea of like no code apps is becoming more and more popular, right? Like I just discovered like Bubble. I think we were talking about Bubble, and there was a few other ones that you could use to like, create like applications for the web and so on, right? And it's all at a very early stage right now, right? Like even like Bubble is like not completely mobile optimized, or it would just take a lot to mobile optimize it, right? But it is interesting to see that the CMS space, right? So when I say CMS, it means content management system, right? Which has been dominated by WordPress. I think 80 or 90% of websites on the web are built on WordPress, right? There's other ones. I think, what is it? Magento. There was Drupal. There were a few other ones that all kind of got started at the same time as WordPress, and WordPress really took off, right? Because it was open source, people can like add on to it and create plugins and themes and so on. So it has a really large ecosystem. But it's just interesting to see something like Ghost starting to pick up steam, and the fact that there's even space for a new CMS. I think that, to me, that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Very cool, man. Very cool. Thanks for sharing.
So we're going to be talking a lot about creators and kind of following some of the things that creators are doing. Who's a creator that you admire, that somebody that you've been following that you think is doing things differently, they're doing things in a cool way?
So I'm the founder and CEO of YT Era. We are a full service YouTube marketing agency, and I've been a YouTube professional since going back as far as late 2018. So YouTube is my go-to. I love it. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for YouTube. So when it comes to content creation and content consumption, YouTube is my go-to. And I've been absolutely obsessed with Alex Hormozi for probably about a year or so. I know he's got a fantastic book on Amazon for like 99 cents. And he does, yeah, Matt's brought it up there for you. He does fantastic work. He look at what he says, big bold letters. I have nothing to sell you, and he literally says that in every single one of his videos. And I think that's a very unique approach. We talk a lot about better is great, but being different is better. And that's not my quote. That's somebody far smarter than me that I can't remember right now that said that quote. And this is a perfect example for all you marketers and creators out there of someone that's found a way to show up in the marketplace in a unique way. I have nothing to sell you. That's like his tagline. He is the founder and CEO of acquisition.com. They do about 85 to like $100 million a year across all of the companies and in the different verticals that they actively participate in. He's not even that vocal on the companies that he has partial ownership in, because he doesn't want he knows he has a strong brand. He knows he has a lot of visibility, and he doesn't want those companies' founders and CEOs to be negatively affected by his brand, because otherwise some people might say, oh, you're just successful because of Alex. You're just successful because you've got such a strong thought leader on who's invested in on your project, right? So he's not even he's vocal about the projects, the companies that he owns 100% in, that he has 100% stake in, but not any of those partnership deals. And yeah, I mean, he's at 215,000 subscribers now. And I want to say I started watching him probably about 25,000 subscribers. And that wasn't that long ago. That was probably, off the top of my head, maybe 9-12 months ago. And so the channel's blown up, and he has a fantastic book that I haven't even gotten yet, but it's on my to-do list. And yeah, I find him to be an amazing content creator. Yeah. Matt, what about you? You got a favorite you got going on right now?
I just think it's really funny because just this morning I was listening to a podcast with Alex, and as I was listening to it, I remember when he was just coming up, and he was I think it was at Funnel Hacking Live. And I think he was on stage kind of sharing a bit about his story at that time. And I think he had just kind of got started. This is maybe the first Funnel Hacking Live or the second, I forget. And so it's just surprising to see here that I'm just looking at his thumbnails. And 2 months ago here, he has broke to $100 million, So that is crazy because I think his whole thing was helping gym owners optimize their gyms. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it's very interesting. Listening to the interview, I don't know where I was listening to it. It came up on my Spotify or whatever, but he did seem very authentic in what he was talking about. So I'm curious to hop into his content. I just sorted his videos here by most popular on YouTube, and his top one says reverse psychology hack to close more deals. And it's got like 3 million views. So I'll take a look at that later. So that's cool. So my favorite creators are not really in the business and marketing space. And when I've brought up in the past that I actually watch these guys, I've had people laugh at me about this. So my favorite creators right now, I'd have to say, are the NELK boys, and they are pure entertainment. Okay. But as a marketing professional, when I watch them, I don't even know if they realize how good they are at marketing. I think they're just kind of doing their thing, but they've definitely, over the years, I think they've acquired some people on their team that have really helped them out. And I'm going to pull this up over here on the screen. So I have been watching the NELK boys since they had maybe like 3,000 subscribers. I remember when my son was first born, I used to feed him milk, and I would be watching NELK boys doing pranks in Ontario because I'm Canadian and they were Canadian, and I loved watching prank videos on YouTube. And I remember, people would be like, why are you watching this? Like, you're an adult, because they were just doing the most immature pranks. And I just to me, I just wanted something that was not business, I'm just kind of relaxing. I want something funny, whatever. Their pranks were just completely stupid. But I could always imagine if we had YouTube when we were young, I could totally see me and my friends doing stuff like this. And I think that's what it was. But they got so big now. I don't even know how many subscribers they're at right now. They're huge. And originally they were Canadian guys. Now they've been living in America for quite a while now. But just last week, they got Donald Trump on their podcast, which I think is huge. So they started this podcast just a few months ago. I remember when they started the podcast, they were like, we're going to be the #1 podcast. And to me, I was kind of I thought it was an ambitious goal. I didn't really think they're going to become the #1, podcast in all categories. But they really did it in just a few months by getting some really high level. I think one of the first people that they got on the show was Donald Trump Jr. But now getting Donald Trump on, and podcast was funny because it was not like, Donald Trump usually is getting interviewed and talking about some serious issues or whatever, but they were just like, asking him like what his favorite song was when he DJs and whatever. And I think one of the other guys, Steve, he was just in the corner laughing the whole time. It looked like he was on mushrooms. He was just laughing. And you see this moment where Donald Trump looks over at him and he's like, this guy's probably on drugs. I'm going to ignore him, like you kind of see him but then like during the podcast, Donald Trump says that this is going to get taken down off of YouTube. And they're like, nah, like you haven't said anything kind of, anything crazy. He's like, no. He's like, this will get censored. And they later on mentioned that they got 5 million views in under 24 hours. And then YouTube took it down.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Wow. And so now it's like on their website, you can get it on Spotify still. It's still everywhere else, right? So it's not like it's like off the internet. All the clips are still on their YouTube, their Full Send Podcast YouTube channel. But it was weird that even got censored. I guess Donald Trump is just getting censored no matter what he says. I don't know what the deal is there. But just watching these guys and what they've been doing, I would like to kind of cover and diagnose a bit more about their marketing. I think they're doing a lot of things really well. And it's just very interesting. Just kind of.
I got a question for you. I got a question for you. Sorry to jump in there, but I got to ask if they I haven't listened to their podcast, but you've definitely piqued my interest now. Like, how have they ever broken down their process to get these high value, high level, huge thought leaders because the number one pain point for every podcaster out there is getting those huge guests, right? Because it can be the difference that can make or break your podcast. So have they ever broken that down?
Kind of, yeah. So what they did is, so the guy on the picture here on the very left, his name is Bob Menery. So he was, when they started the podcast, he was the new recruit into kind of like the Full Send guys, right? And I don't know his whole story, but I think he's like a sports broadcaster or something. I checked out his Instagram. He's got a good radio voice, let's say, right? So they are sometimes kind of
something that we're working on.
Yeah. So they sometimes tease each other about like who gets the best guests on, right? So Bob says that he just like sending DMs on Instagram, I suppose, all these like big people. But because I guess he's a little bit popular and so on, so he might actually get a response, or he'll DM one person, say, can you help me get this person on? They've been talking about like their big goal right now is to get like Kanye West on or get Drake on, stuff like that. I think they're going to do it. I won't be surprised they're going to get Kanye West. Right. But wow. I mean, now that they got Trump, like Trump is like, pretty big. I don't know, you get Trump, you get like Elon Musk, those are like the really big names that you can get on your show. So, but yeah, I always thought that was kind of funny how they kind of like tease each other about who gets the best guests or whatever. And then they're talking about just kind of sliding into the DMs and doing it that way. So, which I think is really the best way. It's just, you got to ask, I mean,
yeah,
you just gotta, before when I was putting together a podcast, even now I want to launch the Internet Mastermind podcast, and even doing that, I was like early on talking to some big names in the internet marketing industry and saying, "Man, I want to do this podcast. Can I get you on?" And I was getting a lot of yeses. I never actually did the podcast yet, but I was getting people like, "Yeah, sure." A lot of people when you're starting out and you're doing something, and they kind of see that you're ambitious of whatever you want to do, people usually want to support you. So that's what I find. There's an old saying or a video, whatever, with Steve Jobs talking about how he wanted to get a job at Intel, and at the time the founder of Intel, his name was just like in the phone book, so he just looked him up in the phone book and called him and said, "Can I get a job?" And then he just gave him a job, doing whatever at Intel. So you just got to kind of reach out and ask. I think it's a secret.
You know what, Matt, though, I don't want you to sell yourself short, though, because back in those internet mastermind days when I was still in Vancouver, I attended a bunch of your events, and you definitely developed the reputation. And Vancouver has a massive marketing community, and part of me definitely misses being in Vancouver because of having that kind of connection and showing up at those events, because you got to notice the same faces at all these events. And you always did a wonderful job of bringing out some pretty big names to give these presentations. And I don't want you to sell yourself short there, because I think in no short part was that due to your energy, your positiveness, your warm energy. You know what I mean? Like, it really does. It does come down to the founder, CEO, or the host of the podcast to really be the constant, the the constant variable throughout all the different episodes. And we just all got you back in those days. We all just got used to Matt like coming up on stage and doing your intro and then bringing on the big name and like, let's do some what are the takeaways here? What can we learn from this? How can we apply this stuff? And it was, you were the constant factor throughout all of those events. And I'd like to think that a lot of these guests were more than happy to grow their reach and their authoritativeness by speaking on your stage, but they're also going to be much more likely to agree when you approach them with the right attitude and the right warm energy, which you always did. You always did, man. You always knew how to deliver to people. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's actually, once you get the ball rolling on something like that, like with Internet Masterminds, people always wondered, like, how do you do an event every Monday night and get all these great speakers? And it was like, and I didn't even know. Just kind of like, it just happens. Like, it wasn't like a work to do, because people would approach me and ask, but like, you know, it would just, in a way, I can kind of like choose who I wanted to bring on, because we had the biggest stage. We were getting the audience every single week, you know? So, you know, once you get to that size, and like you can get kind of, you know, whoever you want, as long as, you know, in that case it was local, you know. So a lot of people would want to get on there. And also the opportunity of like speaking on stages, you know, when you're doing local events, is you're getting, you know, video of you on stage and photos. So a lot of the people were getting, you know, they were from like either big companies, or they had a lot to share, but they didn't have their own platform to be able to speak on. So that's why they would look for those things. So I think that's what happens, is once you kind of get the ball rolling, things just kind of fall into place, and it's not so much work, right? It's more just kind of like, you know, reaching out to someone like, hey, you know, let's chat, let's get on the podcast or whatever. And it's not like a big ask, you know. If we try to get like Donald Trump on our podcast right now, 0% chance it's going to happen, right? But in a few years from now, if this was a political show, I don't know, you know, I'm sure he would love to come on the show, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and actually, before you even get us ready on the next topic, there, I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but I found it's funny that you said that, you know, you were consuming the NELK boys, and you know that it's all about entertainment and not specifically for education or informational reasons, but you just intrinsically knew that, wow, these guys are just natural marketers. I've said this for years, that one of the best marketers that I've ever come across is a famous Hollywood actor, a fellow Canadian, a fellow Canuck, a fellow Vancouver boy, Ryan Reynolds. I think Ryan Reynolds is one of the most successful marketers on the planet. He fought, like Deadpool is the perfect example. He fought to get Deadpool made for about 10 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, 10 years. And then he didn't hold back at all. The movie was obviously made rated R, and the marketing campaign when the first Deadpool movie was launched was, to this day, is still regarded as one of the most successful marketing campaigns for any movie anywhere. Because first of all, it's a rated R movie, and production companies hate making rated R movies because they know they're only going to be able to apply to a certain small percentage of the population. But this movie made $1 bajillion and didn't cost that much to make. And in the grand scheme of things, I tend to believe it was because of Ryan Reynolds' just intrinsic interest in marketing strategies and campaigns that are just much more likely to go viral. And now whenever he posts any movie project or anything on his Instagram or any of his social medias or YouTube channel, it just goes berserk because nobody consumes it as an ad, and they want to share it because it's hilarious. It makes people laugh. And I mean, come on, here we are in early 2022, and there's all kinds of things that stress people out these days, and people need to laugh. And I think Ryan Reynolds is by far one of the best marketers on the planet. Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of that, I want to share this funny story. Just over the weekend, my son wanted to watch the Pikachu movie, the Pikachu Detective, whatever it was. And so he was on YouTube and he searched Pikachu movie full. And then I was surprised that it looked like it was there. Here on YouTube, you could see. And this video is an hour and 42 minutes. It looked like someone had actually put it on YouTube. And I've seen this in the past with some of the kids' movies, like the Paw Patrol movie, like the new one that was in theaters. It's like on YouTube. It's been on YouTube for a long time. And I suppose that Nickelodeon just wants kids to watch it because they'll sell more toys. That's what I assume. I don't know why it hasn't been taken down yet. It's been there for over a year, I guess, or a year. So what was so funny about this is I'm going to just play the beginning of this because I think it's so funny. So you see at the top of the video, it says R. Reynolds. And I was like, that's weird, right? And I was like, I wonder if that watermark is going to be in the whole video. So then what's so funny about this video is like, we can't play too much of it, but it starts the movie off. So I'll just play like a little bit. It starts the movie. So it looks like it's playing the actual movie. And then all of a sudden you see Pikachu start dancing like this. Right. And we're sitting there.
You could play it on mute. Play it on mute because I'm sure. And we're following fair use. We should do a whole episode on fair use, but we're following fair use. We're not going to get slammed for this.
So so Marcus watches it. I turn the lights off. He's like, I'm going to watch the movie, whatever. So like, and then he's just like doing this, and Pikachu's dancing, and then Marcus goes to me. He's like, is Pikachu going to dance the whole movie? And then I was like, wait a minute. And I go and look, and the whole movie is Pikachu just dancing. And I realized that I think that Ryan Reynolds did this on purpose. I think that he's trolling people who are trying to pirate the Pikachu movie. And I was like, because the fact that it says R. Reynolds right at the beginning in the watermark, I think it's him. I think that he did it. So that's just my theory.
Brilliant.
Because you can see the whole channel just says it just Inspector Pikachu. There's nothing on it but the one thing, right? What does it say?
Oh, that's hilarious.
You know? And you can see how many views
37 million views.
Yeah, so he just trolled everyone who's trying to pirate it. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to give this one to Ryan Reynolds. I'm pretty sure it was him.
Oh, he's brilliant. I follow him because I'm a marketer, and I just know I'm going to get ideas when I follow Ryan. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into the next one here. I know we're almost running out of time here, and we might have to save some of our content for next time. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this here. 66% of brands spent more on creator marketing in 2021. I find this fascinating. It's not a super long read. They obviously talk about TikTok and the various different platforms. They talk about user generated content. UGC, or I think they call it something else, UCC. User created content. I think this is just a sign of things to come. And I mean, this is just my gut speaking here. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody can just, figure out and tell you exactly what's going to happen next year and the year after that. But I think people are. We live in a time where people are tired of being oversold to by over polished content. It's no secret. I've attended all the events. I remember sitting second row right in front of Dean Graziosi at one of the Traffic and Conversion Summit events, and him talking to the whole crowd with the only kind of level of passion that Dean Graziosi has, saying that he'll spend the 10, 20, 30 grand on a high end production crew to come to his house and film ads. And then he'll spend like 10 minutes talking to his cell phone. And those ads that he makes of him talking to his cell phone will outperform the ads that he made with the huge high-end crew that he hired. I think it's no secret that brands are realizing that user-generated content is the way to go. And I mean, I know the influencer space has taken a lot of heat in recent years too, because some people certainly abuse the level of influence that they have, and other people, and then there are also thought leaders, unfortunately, that do, how do I say this? They artificially inflate their data just so that they can charge higher fees to the brand. But ultimately, if you build your audience the right way, the authentic way, and you have real followers, not a bunch of fake followers that you're buying off of Fiverr or what have you, but user generated content is a one way that your brand can appear a lot. I mean, come on, at the end of the day, people do business with you if they know, like, and trust you. One of the best ways for people to know, like, and trust you is have a bunch of user-generated content out there of your paying clients, your paying customers, or find a thought leader that has the audience that is closely related to the audience you're trying to target. I think this is just a sign of things to come, and things are just going to get easier and easier.
It's interesting. I'm just looking over this. Whenever I see reports like this, I always wonder about where they got the data from and how much data. Obviously, I think that, I would not doubt that this is true, not true, right? That there's people who are definitely spending more. You just, it would just make sense.
Oh yeah. What did they say there? Like they told like 200 companies.
Creator IQ, right? So so I just Googled the Creator IQ, and this is where you get the report. So this is where you would put in your email address, and then you can probably get the report from them. But who knows, how many people they surveyed, who they surveyed, right? And this is a platform.
Oh, dude, I think they
say it.
They say it. I think they surveyed 200. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a huge. Where is it? I think they said it in the. Oh, the report is based on a survey of 150 brands and 200 influencers. So, I mean, not a huge data set.
Yeah.
It's not a huge, and I did know that when I flagged this, but I thought, this is still large enough for me to note it.
Right. Yeah. I don't doubt that people are spending more, but it's just whenever I see these, because, I do a lot of copy ratings. So I'm always trying to find, third party verified data to be able to use and that sort of thing. But I was just trying to find like what is the most, real and relevant. So again, not saying that this is going to be a fake report or anything like that. It's just that, who knows how accurate it really is.
Oh, no, dude, but you're so right. Best practices, it depends on, if you're getting your stock investment advice from your barber, then consider the source. Yeah, I totally understand, man. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, I'm not doubting the actual stat. It's just that All right, next story here. You brought this one as well. So this is around ad fraud. So why combating ad fraud might be your best marketing investment in 2022. So you brought the story in. What is ad fraud? I don't even know what that is.
So ad fraud I find it to be a really interesting subject. I'm bringing this subject up simply because I don't think enough marketers are talking about it. I really don't think it's discussed enough. I mean, this Forbes article isn't the super recent. When did it come out?
This is February,
like a month ago?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, not long.
February. Okay, so it's recent, but not super recent. And the thing that I've noticed about ad fraud is that it's just not discussed enough because everyone knows what the ROAS is, or you should know what your ROAS is.
What is ad fraud?
Oh, okay, so sorry. So ad fraud is when your ad is being viewed by a non-person. And unfortunately, the industry is crazy high. I can't remember the number off the top of my head. It's like tens of millions of dollars is being wasted on ad fraud. And where is it? Okay.
So would like a publishing company like put fake views on their website to increase their ad dollars?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. The article. I'm trying to remember. Grow 15 over reaching 705 billion, well over pre-pandemic levels. Unfortunately, this advertising boom also triggered a surge in advertising fraud. As businesses kick off their 2022 marketing plans, there's one thing they shouldn't overlook: a strategy for combating ad fraud to protect the return on ad spend. I feel like that would be the quickest win for any company out there that's spending $10,000 a month, $1 million a month. Like if you found a way to solve for this problem, rather than increasing your ad spend, wouldn't that be the most logical solution? And I think I have a solution, but before I share that with everybody, I just wanted to see if I can find the number here. There is a number that okay, here we go. It's difficult to calculate exact losses caused by ad fraud, but the latest estimations put it at around $13.8 billion in 2020 in the US alone. $14 billion in one country. I feel like that's the quickest win. I feel like that's the quickest win for any company.
Do you know, Andrew, I did not know that this was a thing that was happening.
Oh, dude, it's huge.
So
it's huge, man.
It says
it's
here,
huge,
ad fraud detection software relies on detecting patterns that resemble suspicious actions in an ad's impressions, clicks, traffics, or IP addresses, or a mix of all those data sources. It compares clicks on ads to its database, and if it detects an anomaly, it notifies users in real time so advertisers can analyze their data. So there's companies now that are doing this. This is interesting. So what if I'm running ads through the Google AdSense network or the Facebook, what do they call it? Facebook expanded audiences, or I forget what they call it now.
Well, the solution that I just sent it to you in the chat, the solution that I can't speak to this. Okay, so I want to be clear here. This isn't an advertisement. Okay, I'm not promoting these people, but I just sent Matt a message in the chat that he's going to bring up for you. It's AdsDax. And I've gone through their website and I've actually sent their team a message because I'm actually going to look into possibly creating an ad campaign through them for my own company. And I will be more than happy to report back on the Good Morning Marketers show here with you, Matt, when I figure out what my experience is. Plus, not only in my industry, because I'm my company is a full service YouTube marketing agency. If I find that this is the only logical way forward to reduce the risk of ad fraud, then I'm going to be more than happy to promote these people and share them. But they seem to have solved this problem, and it's a very, very big problem. And I'm shocked. Like, I've been in marketing for a long time, and I've never really heard this subject come to the forefront. And I think it's the silliest thing in the world, because when you think of, like, you've heard of the term click farm, right, Matt? You know, these click farms where it could be anywhere. It could be in Romania or the Philippines or Russia or wherever, right, where people are paid just to click on ads.
Right.
So the entrepreneur, the business owner, is paying for those clicks, but those clicks meant nothing to them on the bottom line, because those are not paying customers. Those aren't even the ideal viewers or avatar or persona that they're trying to target. This is a huge, huge problem. So I've already reached out to the AdStacks team. I'm going to see what their process is like, and I'll report back when I know more.
It looks like here they're using some sort of a blockchain technology and so on.
Yeah, they're on Hashgraph. They build on Hashgraph. They say blockchain there, but they're on Hedera Hashgraph, so that because they needed a platform that can handle the transaction volume. Can you imagine how many people click on ads every single day? The transaction volume is sky high.
Right. Wow, this is very interesting. I was not aware of about how big of an issue this is, or that this was an issue and that there's solutions for this. So I think this is very interesting. I think this is. Yeah, I'm going to be looking at this, because I wonder, because this here is, I guess you're going to use their platform to run your ads through their platform, and they have these metrics. But I wonder if you're just using direct Facebook ads, Google ads, and so on, if there's a way to be able to detect and monitor what's going on there. Yeah, I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, let me do a little bit of experimentation with these guys, and I'll report back. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we're marketers. We understand the value of attention in the marketplace. And unfortunately, we do live in a world where it's very much pay to play. And a lot of people are able to drown out their competition because they just have a much, much higher ad budget than their competition does, right? So they're willing to pay whatever it takes just to swamp the entire marketplace and just dominate. Well, what percentage of those clicks are you getting are real people, though? That's the real question, right? So, yeah.
So Andrew, I got a question for you. I'm curious to know what your response with it. You know, you've been in digital marketing now for how many years? It started in 2016?
Yeah, with your program in 2016, but seriously, since 2018. Yeah.
What do you think it takes to be a digital marketer? A full-time, not called digital marketer, but to run an online business. What do you think it really takes to do this?
Yeah, really great question. What it takes is, so we had a saying in the Coast Guard, and I always take things back to my own experiences, like everybody does, but we had a saying in the Coast Guard, figure it out. Because in the Coast Guard, we were constantly put in stressful environments and situations that, in some situations, it was almost like there's no way out here. There's no solution. Well, figure it out. Take what you have. Take what access to resources and tools you have. Tony Robbins says this all the time. It's not about the resources you have access to. It's what level of resourcefulness do you have? Right. You can make a way or find a way. And I think the best digital marketers, the best content creators out there, find a way, because a lot of people will just see all the odds and how the odds are stacked up against them, and they'll throw their arms up and give up before even hitting the record button, or before typing up the blog, or before taking any action whatsoever. They convince themselves, they tell themselves a story that they're going to fail. So what it takes to be a really great marketer is just surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I mean, come on, it's cliche to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. You are the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. You want to be a good digital marketer, hang out with some digital marketers. You want to lose some weight, hang out with some fitness freaks. You want to grow your wealth, hang out with some rich people. I know it's so cliche, but it doesn't make it any less true. And so yeah, being a great digital marketer, hang out with some digital marketers, consume content like this, YouTube channels, podcasts, because in my situation, I help people blow up on YouTube. Well, it's really hard to blow up on YouTube if you don't actually consume YouTube content. So me and my team are constantly consuming YouTube content to stay on that leading edge. So because success leaves clues, right? But ultimately, something that I should quickly touch on is the fact that there's, maybe this sounds a little harsh, but I also believe it to be true. There's no original content out there. There's nothing that's original. Everything has been repurposed or repackaged. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, even though I'm a Tony Robbins fan, I know Tony has taken all of his knowledge from other sources. His mentor was Jim Rohn, and I can't remember who was Jim Rohn's mentor now. And so Tony has researched all these successful people, all of these different religions, all of these different business professionals and financially wealthy people, and then he packages it up in a way that only he can. He interviewed when he made Money Mastered the Game, that book, that super successful financial book. He interviewed 50 billionaires or something crazy like that, and then he wrote the book. So I think the same approach, the same mentality certainly is applicable in digital marketing. I don't know. What do you agree with? What do you disagree? Throw it back.
Yeah, no, I agree with absolutely everything you said. It was funny. I just remembered that I got introduced to this mastermind group through some other entrepreneurs, and then when I was in the group, I remember I brought up this idea that you are the equal sum of the people that you spend the most time with, and then everybody in the group disagreed with me, and we started having this debate. Yeah, and then I was like, what? I was baffled. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is like a fact of life. Like, this is not to debate. I was like, what do you mean? But I ended up leaving the group because I was like, this is like, we can't argue about this. This is like a fact, So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. But I also find that a lot of people give up too soon, right? It does take a lot of sacrifice. A lot of people might have a job, right? Maybe a 9-to-5 or whatever it might be, right? And you want to kind of create your own online business or become a marketer or a creator or whatever it might be. And it takes a long time. I honestly think that you got to go all in, crank it up to 11 for a year, right? Or you kind of go in and maybe you're at an 8, but you got to do it for 2 years. It just doesn't happen so fast. People see stories of people that are, going from, called 0 to 100, in a few months. They think that they're going to make some content. It's going to go viral. We were kind of joking earlier about the show where it's we're kind of not 100% prepared for everything we need to do, and it's kind of good because probably not a lot of people are going to watch this, so I don't expect it to go viral, so and I'm kind of thankful for that. We're just kind of practicing, we're finding our voice, but it takes a long time, right? So I think it's just you have to be really passionate and love doing it regardless of the money. And for me doing the show with you, I think I could do this for a long time and just enjoy doing it. And it doesn't matter, obviously we want to make money eventually from this, but anyone watching this right now, we ain't making no money right now. We're just, we're just having fun with this. We're going to, and I really believe that we have to be doing this for many months by the time we really find our stride and find our voice and kind of, and know how we're going to represent ourselves online and create, whatever, call it a character or whatever it is that other people will also appeal to and enjoy. And I'm just excited about being able to meet with you and just talk about these stories. I think about this stuff all the time and I have nobody to share with and talk about it. And once in a while, I'll bring up a story like this is someone, like I talked about earlier, like the NELK boys or whatever. I've told other marketers about this who had never heard about them. And I start telling them what they're doing and they're like, what? And they're like, and then we go down this rabbit hole, right? And it's like, that's my jam. That's what I love talking about, right? Yeah. So I think that's what it really takes is yes, you got to I think a lot of what you were talking about is all the tactical things, which is you have to do. You have to surround yourself with other people. You have to find models for success, right? And a lot of people who are getting started, they don't realize that. They don't, to us, it's so obvious because we've been in this for a long time. But beyond that, even to just get started, you have to be willing to be doing this for a year, if not really for 2 years. And I used to say this too with, in social media director, I used to tell people when they start their career in social media, I'm like, you're probably going to be broke for 2 years. It's going to take you a while by the time you're making a good amount of money and you're not hustling every day to try to get sales, it's kind of coming to you. It takes 2 years, So anyone who wants to become a creator or whatever they want to do, or, become a digital marketer, I think you have to be really committed and you have to want to do it enough that you're going to be, watching YouTube videos, reading blog posts and just consuming the content and just taking action, just doing and building the community around you and so on. And you got to be doing that for 2 years. By the time you get, the time you really feel like you had some success, right?
I got 2 more things that I want to add to that, just to build off of what you said there too, and then we can wrap it up. But I love what you just said there, and honestly, because I've been doing this for so long now, I can really actually boil it down to two things. And it just kind of dawned on me while you were talking there. One, you got to be able to create results. You have to be able to create results. We used to live in an industrial age, then we switched to the informational age, and now we're actually in the digital age. And there's a lot of marketers out there. There's a lot of content creators out there. There are not that many out there that know how to actually generate real results. So that's number one. You actually got to know how to get real world results, because we no longer live in an economy that is based off of the input of your time. We live in a results and outcomes based economy, because it really doesn't matter what you charge for your products and services. You can charge what the hell you want as long as you can get results. People will pay for results. They don't want to pay for you to come in and punch a clock for 8 hours a day. They want to know that they're going to get the reach and the authoritativeness and the influence based off of your marketing experience, right? So that's number one, get results. Number two, people got to enjoy working with you. Matt, people love working with you, man. People love working with you. I'm fortunate and grateful enough to have gotten lots of positive feedback over the years that, like, you know what, Andrew, we really miss having you around here, man. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good to hear. Or the community really misses your input, or blah, blah, blah. Like, just being enjoyable to work with. Yeah. Oh my God. That goes so far, especially now that we're all doing everything virtually, and being able to make connections with those in relationships. I'm telling you, you'll find yourself, maybe you lost a client, or maybe you got laid off or something. And as soon as that influential person finds out that you're available now, they're going to reach out to you, and they're going to be like, oh, I hear you got laid off, or, oh, I hear you got some extra time on your calendar because you lost your client. I need some help. And then, yeah. So anyways, I had to throw that in there. Matt, I'll let you close her up.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely true. I love it. I remember when I started my agency work, I just kind of like posted on my social media, on my Facebook, I'm like, hey, I'm taking clients now. And then it was like, I got and it was all because of those relationships and so on that I built over the years. So it was just, they're just coming from friends and so on, right? Awesome. So that's a wrap on our first show. Very curious to see how this is going to turn out when it actually kind of starts going on YouTube and on the podcasts and all that. And I also can't wait to look back at this in a year from now. Maybe in a year from now, we'll do like a review of our first episode and what we could have done better. So
I like that.
Yeah, I love it, guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Obviously, if you're in the podcast, wherever you want to consume this, we're planning to upload this natively to every platform.